Wow, I'm not putting that back on again. Look at my face. It's gotta take me to the literal moon to be worth it. Wait a second. I am on the moon, and I can't even watch movies here. Okay, the Vision Pro is as impressive as it is weird. So I'll show you what it's actually like to use this thing, why I think it's the most epic visual experience, and why you probably shouldn't get one just yet. The Vision Pro is well built, but somehow still has poor ergonomics. And here's what I mean. It's got some solid specs on paper with around a 3K6 by 3K2 OLED screen for each eye. For some context, that's about 2.5 times more pixel per eye than the Meta Quest 3. And I really can't see any pixels in the Vision Pro. These screens are actually motorized to move side to side to align with your eyes when you first put them on. It feels kind of extra, but so is the rest of the build. It's mostly aluminum with vents at the top and the bottom and lots of cameras. And so you can basically see through it. Only when you get really close to something, you can't see that well, like here all the text is blurred. Also, when it's dark, the pass-through does get a bit grainy. The front glass makes it look kind of like ski goggles, and behind it, there's an extra screen that can show people your eyes. And then you have this mesh thing, which clips on magnetically, and then you can choose between a thick light seal or a thin one. I've been using the thin one. It's nice and soft, and it has these tiny pivots at the bottom to better conform with your face. Next, you can either add the Solo knit strap or this head strap, which I actually find way more comfortable because the top strap helps to balance out the weight. If you need glasses, you'll need to put in optical inserts that cost an additional $150 on top of the $3,500 price tag. And to power everything, you use this aluminum battery pack that's also pretty dense. The cable has this unique plug that clips into the headset. When you first put this on, it is reasonably comfortable. All of the materials feels pretty nice, but all the metal and glass makes for a surprisingly heavy build, even without any batteries in the headset itself. The Vision Pro is super solid in an over-engineered way, but that's about the last thing you want for a headset. And since the weight needs to be suspended pretty far in front of your face, it doesn't even matter how nice and adjustable the straps are. There's just truly no fighting the weight at almost 600 grams. Unless you're laying down or doing this. For me, I really couldn't wear it for over an hour. Just 45 minutes in, it already left a pretty bad headache and very noticeable marks on my face. And that's after trying all of the adjustments. And you might think it would be cool to work in this, like working on the moon, or just any of the immersive environments with these large, aesthetically pleasing floating windows all around you. And it is really cool for a little bit. I'll get to how it works for productivity later, but because of the weight and discomfort, I don't think it's a monitor replacement. I feel like they really just should have abandoned the screen in front to take off some of the weight because it really doesn't have any functions besides showing your eyes to other people. It's like they're trying to make wearing the Vision Pro a part of life. You can still see each other's eyes, so it feels completely normal, right? But in reality, it looks like this. Does this look normal to you? The eyes are pretty low res and hard to see unless you're directly in front of me. And since the Vision Pro needs a battery bank to run anyways, why not just put the M2 chip with the battery? With just a little bit less weight on the face, it can be so much more comfortable and useful. Of course, your mileage may vary for ergonomics, so let's talk about what the Vision Pro can do and why I think it delivers the most epic visual experience ever. When I first got it, I put on this immersive show reel from Apple TV, and it literally blew my mind. It doesn't let me record any movies or shows, the screen literally turns black, but there is this dinosaur immersive app that's the same concept. And it feels like you've been transported to a completely different environment, and everything around you just feels so real, like you can touch it. You can freely look around the environment. The displays are very sharp and have that perfect OLED contrast. It just makes everything look very real. I think from a visual perspective, the Vision Pro transports you to a different world better than any IMAX 3D movie theater ever could. And it's also just way more immersive than anything, even the Las Vegas Sphere that basically has the entire screen surrounding you. After I finished the show reel, I was convinced that this is the future for movies and shows. So I wanted to watch some more immersive shows, but there's only these two other ones made by Apple. Okay, fine, no immersive shows, but even 3D movies are insane in this. You can watch it in a ton of different immersive environments like Joshua Tree, White Sands, and in the Disney Plus app, you can watch it on the Scare Floor or on the Avengers rooftop in New York. All of these immersive environments are very high resolution and look incredible. You can also move the virtual movie screen around, like closer or further away. I love pushing it to like 10 feet away and then making the screen as big as it gets. It feels like an 100 100-inch TV. One weird thing is that it actually has a distance and size limitation. I was trying to make it feel like a big movie theater, but it just wouldn't let me. But yeah, the movie experience is amazing and only limited by the fact that I can't get through a single movie without having to take a break. The Vision Pro also works very seamlessly with MacBooks. You just look at the MacBook and it'll prompt to connect. And once it's connected, the MacBook screen turns black and you have this private virtual screen inside. You can get it to be real big. Now, before I show you probably the weirdest thing about the Vision Pro, I want to show you how I deal with my digital mess. I discovered an app called Clean My Mac X that helps me stay in my creative flow and keep it clean and organized. Right now, I just finished making my last video and my MacBook has files, photos, video clips in a whole bunch of different places. Some are on my desktop, some in downloads. It's a mess. But I'm going to use Clean My Mac X to do the digital cleanup for me so that I can just move on to working on the next video. I'm going to one-click start the Smart Scan and it'll do cleanup, malware removal, and speed up all together. Another feature that I use often is a space lens. It lets you see what files are taking up the most amount of space. It's very handy for storage management. There's also an optimization feature that helps increase your Mac's performance by controlling what apps or processes are running on it. And I also like to use the malware removal from time to time to scan my Mac for all kinds of viruses, and if it finds any, it'll instantly remove them. Clean My Mac X will handle all of the mess on your Mac. You can try it with a 7-day free trial and get a 20% discount for 2 weeks by using my link in the description. And probably the most wacky thing is the persona. You can take meetings with it, so when you're in the Vision Pro and you join a Zoom or a FaceTime, you would show up as this rendering of yourself. It does look pretty similar to me, but the facial expressions are just never quite right. The smile looks like I'm just faking it in an awkward meeting. And as antisocial as this entire thing seems, they actually did make a good effort to make it a little bit more social friendly. Typically in a headset, you can't show your friends what you're looking at, but with the Vision Pro, you can actually cast it to an iPhone, iPad, or MacBook. Well, I guess it's only social friendly with other Apple devices. And next, so the Vision Pro also has memory on where you put your apps. And it's not just right in front of you. You can put an app down and then walk to a different room and the app will be stuck in the same location and even have the same perspective. I did try that out, but ultimately I mostly just sit in one place while using this thing. Now, another thing that's super unique and different about the Vision Pro is the controls. It relies on eye and hand tracking. It's really convenient to not have to use a controller, and the eye and hand tracking is pretty accurate. You just look at the thing that you want to click and then you pinch your fingers together to click it. It's surprisingly intuitive and reliable, but sometimes I tend to look away from the thing too soon and end up clicking the wrong thing. Or maybe there is a slight delay with the clicking gesture. Right now, the Vision Pro only supports connecting a Bluetooth keyboard, but not a mouse. I feel like the hand-eye control is sufficient for a lot of apps, but for example, some editor apps like Darkroom can really use a mouse pointer. Also, games that are designed for the Vision Pro are just insane. There aren't that many right now, but one of them is the familiar Fruit Ninja. However, instead of just a regular 2D game, it's like all around you. It really feels like the fruits actually physically exist. You chop them with your hand and they would interact with the environment. Like here you can see the fruit bouncing off the table and then there's juices all around. There's also this cute little piggy that you can feed. However, the eye-hand control method is not that precise, especially when I'm going ham in the game. And this leads to the downsides of the Vision Pro. It can capture spatial videos and photos, and they're very cool. The first time I saw a spatial video, my mind was just blown. It felt like I was standing right there and it's happening right in front of me instead of just watching something happen through a screen. It's hard to show the spatial effect through a screen recording, but I think it's just such an incredible way to store memories. Like imagine 5 years later, you can still look back and experience this moment right now as if you're standing right there. However, right now, spatial videos and photos are quite limited. First of all, besides the Vision Pro, only the iPhone 15 Pros can capture spatial video and not even the photos. And on the iPhone, it's done by blending the ultra-wide and the main camera, so the field of view is kind of narrow. And since they have to crop in on the ultra-wide camera to match the main camera, you can only record up to 1080p at 30 FPS. So the footage just doesn't really look very detailed, and the field of view is kind of limited too. I guess it feels like you're reliving that memory but through a small and low-res window. And that speaks to a bigger problem with the Vision Pro. It does have the technical ability to give you the best content experience, but it's just really hard to actually capture good content for it. There's no such thing as a GoPro with 2 eyes that can put out the spatial video format. But even on a professional level, capturing perfectly detailed immersive video is just really hard. The Dinosaur Show, which is a render, looks very crisp and nice, but this other show that's actually filmed in real life just kind of felt like a 720p video. It can certainly use some more resolution. You really need to shoot very high res in order for it to look sharp when it's immersive. Like when I went to the Las Vegas Sphere, the show demo reel looked sharp, but they had to use this bespoke 18K resolution camera. So even for the professional film crews, it's hard to get that type of resolution. I honestly wouldn't expect there to be many more immersive shows in the near future. And the fact that the Vision Pro is so different also limits the immersive content you can get on it. There are lots of VR videos out there, even on YouTube, but they all don't work that well on the Vision Pro. By default, Safari won't even play any VR videos. You can change the setting to enable WebXR in Safari and watch VR videos. However, it still doesn't work with YouTube. And when you do play them, the content just looks a little bit wrong, like the stuff looks bigger than normal, and the interface is very janky. So overall, just not a very good experience. Another pretty significant limitation is that you can only have one single virtual Mac screen. I frequently use two screens when I'm working, so I actually still prefer my boring, non-spatial working way. You can open up other Vision Pro apps while using the Mac virtual screen. However, you can't use a third-party mouse, but for some reason, the Mac's trackpad does work. Like, it slides between the virtual screen and the app very seamlessly. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to be desired right now regarding Mac integration. Also, you can't just hook up the Vision Pro to a PC and use it like a headset to play some games like Flight Sim. And that's a pretty big letdown. You're basically left with whatever games are in the App Store. So yeah, the Vision Pro is just a little too unique for its own good. The lack of apps that actually take advantage of what it can do, the lack of immersive shows, and the fact that it can't just act like a normal headset and let me play some PC games on it. All of these things just doesn't make it super worth it considering its high price. And not to mention its weight. It really gets to me after barely an hour. But I would go try it out at an Apple store if you can. The few immersive show reels that I watched was probably the coolest experience I had this year. I can definitely see a future in this, but we gotta wait for show producers and devs to be on board with it too. All right, that's going to be it for this video, and goodbye world.